Shields. I am the Executive Director of the Waterloo Library Historical Society. The annual Wells Award ceremony places high honor upon the individuals who have etched their way into the history of our great community, just as Henry C. Wells has done nearly a century and a half ago. The recipients of this award serve as inspiration to our community now and for many years to come. Now let me introduce to you Josh Small, the Waterloo Library Historical Society trustee, to present the award.
I'm so happy to be standing up here to help present this award to Ed and Laurel. See, they just live down the street from me, so I consider them to be neighbors, of course, but also friends. Now, I don't know if I have this story straight, and I don't know if everyone knows here. Ed and Laurel aren't originally from Waterloo. Ed and Bob, where's Bob Dinan?
He's not here.
They had to scoot out, okay. Ed and Bob Dinan were college roommates, am I correct in saying that? Okay, and Ed followed Bob back to his hometown, and let's say we're the lucky ones, right? And they've stayed ever since. So it's almost like you were called to Waterloo. Thank goodness. Now, I'm not going to stand here and list the extent of Ed and Laurel's generosity. It wouldn't be appropriate. It's really not their style. It's not necessarily about the what, but more the how. We're talking pride, quiet confidence, and humility. That's how they perform everything they do, and it's always for the greater community. That's the how. You're not just receiving a plaque here tonight. This goes beyond that. You're literally going to be etched in stone. Your names. Here's the stone. Right down here. It's beautiful. Etched in stone to inspire future generations here in Waterloo. So, we didn't mean to put you on the spot tonight. And it certainly isn't any sort of roast. But this is our way to say...
No play on words intended.
It's our way to say thank you, and we notice it. I have this really shiny plaque up here. I think I may have put one fingerprint on it. The Henry C. Wells Award, presented to Ed and Laurel Callahan. This award is bestowed upon that citizen or those citizens of Waterloo, New York, who embody the character and commitment of the founder of Memorial Day, Henry C. Wells, toward the betterment of our community. From the Waterloo Library Historical Society, 2016. And before I hand the plaque to you, I'm also going to read just a few lines from a proclamation issued by Senator Michael Mazzolio, honoring Edward and Laurel Callahan upon the occasion of their designation as recipients of the 2016 Henry C. Wells Award by the Waterloo Library Historical Society on May 27th. That's today. Resolved, at the end, resolved that this legislative body pause in its deliberations to honor Ed and Laurel Callahan upon the occasion of their designation as recipients of the 2016 Henry C. Wells Award by the Waterloo Library Historical Society, and be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution, suitably engrossed, be transmitted to Ed and Laurel Callahan. So I have that order. I'll come down so you don't have to go.
We have a few special guests here tonight. And I'm very pleased to introduce our first speaker, Frederick Douglass.
great pleasure to be in this community. In 1848, I was just up the road in Seneca Falls, just as Waterloo has done something special for these special people. Elizabeth Cady Stanton and a few other women were trying to do something special for women. I was given an invitation. There was perhaps 35 women there, and I believe 32 men. It was a 2-day event. On the first day, all these great women spoke. On the second day, the Declaration of Sentiments was read, which was, as you all know, the guideline and structure for the movement that they had. At the end of the day, a ballot was taken. And I'm proud to say that out of all the men there, the clergy, the educators, I was the only man that stood up and voted in favor of women's rights. And as my newspaper, the North Star, recorded the event, its motto was "Right is of no sex, and truth is of no color." And I bid them and their movement Godspeed. God bless you and your community. Thank you.
Next, I would like to introduce General Grant.
Thank you, honored guests. It's wonderful to be here at Waterloo. Waterloo has such an importance in history in Europe. It was a changed battle. The face of Europe would be forever changed. And you did the same thing here a few years later by recognizing the Grand Army of the Republic. What does that mean, the Grand Army of the Republic? Memorial Day, remembering these men, they had the choice. We're separated by two wide oceans from the tyranny of continents. And yet we've managed to overcome a revolution, we've overcome a civil war. We have done it all ourselves, and we are truly the last great hope on earth because we have proved that we are indeed a great people. And what better way is to recognize those people of our community that made a difference. As the men who walked away from here and joined the army and marched through the fields of the South, they made a difference. 58 did not come home. We remember them. But what's more important is what you're doing today, keeping alive the spirit of America. For those men who marched away, I have no doubts that they had plans to come home and raise families and have a wonderful life. But they went to a greater calling. And those of your community who could just sit home and do nothing, you go out and work and make a difference, those are heroes too. So when someone receives a plaque in recognition from their town, city, state, country, we should be honored because they made a difference. And for the plaque that was gone out tonight, I thank you. I thank you. No greater honor could be awarded to an American than be recognized by ourselves. In my travels, I've seen a lot. But in all the countries I've visited, there's no place like home. And Waterloo certainly makes you feel like you're at home. Thank you.
And I also would like to introduce President Roosevelt.
I've been asked to say a few words. To ask a politician to say a few words is impossible. To ask Theodore Roosevelt to say a few words is twice impossible. But a few words about volunteerism, community spirit. That's worth a few moments of our time. The volunteers are the hardblood of any community that has those who will step forward and say, I'll do it. They see something needs to be done, they'll say, how can we accomplish this? Any community that has those sort of volunteers is a much richer community for it. And heaven help those communities that, well, they have trouble finding people that take pride in themselves and their neighbors and the town they live in. Waterloo, obviously, is not one of those communities. One of the things you find about volunteers is that they almost all have character, positive character. Oops, excuse me. It is a bit warm in here to keep the pince-nez on. Volunteers have character. They are, according to Dave, Mr. and Mrs. Callahan are characters. And I'm sure that he says that in the most wonderful way. Well, to wrap it up, let me share a story that happened just a few moments ago. I was standing with President Grant, and I was talking about my trip down the Mississippi toward the end of my administration, and went down the river to Louisiana, and I got to Louisiana, and I was able to go on a bear hunt in the Louisiana canebrake. While there, it was most miserable hunting. There weren't that many bears left, but we hunted nevertheless. Did not find anything, and finally they called in a local guy who was somewhat of a hero to the local folk. His name's Ben Lilly. Mr. Lilly was sent for. He came into camp, and a more disreputable, rundown, trodden individual would be hard to find. Apparently, Mr. Lilly spent most of his adult life in the Louisiana canebrakes. He wore one set of clothes, and he wore it until they wore out. He lived in the Louisiana canebrakes. He much preferred sleeping each night in a hollowed-out log, or if it was cold and rainy, he would find a crook in a tree to sit in. He was rather rough and indelicate on the way that he ate. He was rather scraggly and unkempt in the way that he kept his hair. But altogether, he was a most manly man, an individual who knew who he was and had no trouble telling others what he thought of them. He was rash and sometimes rude, but not necessarily mean to be. Well, I was sharing this with President Grant, and Dave walks up and, not hearing the start of the conversation, says, "Oh, I see you've already met Mr. Callahan." Character takes all kinds. Volunteers are special characters. Heaven grant us that we always have such men and women of character as the Callahans in this community. Thank you very much.
Before we conclude, I personally would like to say thank you to Ed and Laurel. They have helped tremendously to make the Library Historical Society both beautiful inside and out, and we witness it every day when they come in. And so I just personally want to say thank you to both of them. I would also like to thank Scott Teller of PatriotPlaquesUS.us. He was the one that graciously made our beautiful etched granite plaque here, right down here, for the Library and Historical Society. You will see him out on the front porch of Memorial Day Museum this weekend, and he makes these plaques for the Afghan and Iraq soldiers, and then donates them. And there will be a few items. This is a not-for-profit, and he does this to remember them. And it's a beautiful way that we've been able to etch the recipients of this for the next 200 years, that he has made this for us. And the other things that plaques that he's making for the other communities around it, of the people, the men and women that have served and have died. And so thank you very much. It's beautiful, and we are proud to have it here. This award ceremony has come to an end, but please feel free to continue downstairs. It's much cooler down there. So thank you for being here and for your continued support. Enjoy the 2016 Waterloo Celebrate Commemorate Memorial Day weekend. It's going to be very busy, but we'll be down at the museum, and we hope to see many faces there, and we'll see you all around town. Thank you very much for coming, and thank you, Ed and Laurel.
I'll keep this short to 25 minutes. No, we want to thank everybody really from the bottom of our hearts for coming out here on such a miserable, oppressive, humid night. And like I said, we tried to stay off the radar. We're deeply appreciative and grateful, and everybody coming out. And you know, when you get a chance when you get out there, a lot of people live in this community their whole life, and they've never been to the library. They've never been upstairs, and or downstairs at the museum. That's right. And they're gems. They're hidden gems. And I wish you'd spread the word. And there's a wonderful, saying Cindy and Brandy. It's a wonderful library staff here. They treat everybody with respect coming in here. Because I've been in libraries where, you know, they don't give you the time of day. But they make you feel welcome. They make you feel at home. And yet at the same time, very professional. I also wanted to thank, not just because they're standing here, but I told somebody before, but the village, the Commemorate, Celebrate committee that do so much work, all the people behind the scenes. Their hearts are in the right place. They know I always, you know, it's free. I don't always agree what they do, what they've done, what they might do. But all I know is that I respect them to death because they really were lucky. Everybody on that village board, even the mayor. No, but they have their heart in the right place. They really care about Waterloo, what's happening. You know, maybe we can keep going forward. I don't want to sound cliche, but they do a wonderful job. When you're a politician, you're thrown out under the bus constantly. Stuff that you can't defend yourself against. People throw garbage on, what do you call that big thing? Social media. But one thing, is Don Peters still here?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, good. Don't believe everything you see in the paper, read in the paper. Don Peters said, oh, they never say no. When we asked them, well, we said no to Kathy and Don Peters plenty of times. So.
Do you mean the people I interview don't tell me the truth?
You make your own conclusion, Doris. Yeah, we I don't know, I kind of lost my thought. I wanted to say a couple of things, but I know it was only 5 minutes, but I appreciate everybody coming, and most important thing to us is our family, our faith, our friends, and that's what keeps us going. And you know, somebody says, why do you volunteer? I don't know, why wouldn't you volunteer? I mean, I don't know, it's a no-brainer. Why wouldn't you? What are you going to do with all that free time now? Especially now, we can help out all times of the day, and sometimes we have to say no because of conflicts, or we don't feel comfortable doing certain things, or as my family and friends know, that well, not so much Laurel. She's crafty at everything. I'm inept at a lot of things. Hey, Ed, can you help us with the wiring installation? No. Hey, can you help me build this? No. Can you help me destroy something, take something apart? Yes. But it's a wonderful place, and I just want to thank you again. It's just a horrible night to come out. And the food was great, all the work that's done behind the scenes, if there's any left. So I'm done, I'm clear, and thank you again.